welcome to the final installment of this series. By now, I'm sure you have seen the previous 2 episodes, but just in case you have not, they will be in the description. As many of you suggested, I am going to start an honor mode playthrough, but just doing a normal one seems too easy. So if you have any ideas on what I could do, then please do leave them below. I do have some ideas of my own, but I think it's more fun if you guys get to decide with me. Enough talking, let us begin. We take a quick rest and get ambushed by some Gith that are attacking the Emperor. All the Gith here have evasion, a very annoying skill that always at least halves all damage they take from any spell requiring saves. Therefore, it does not seem worth it to spend all of my spell slots trying to take them out, so I just teleport to the portal and leave. I encounter some Gith fighting these intellect devourers, and since they also have evasion, I figure that there is no more efficient way of taking them out than by pushing them off using Thunderwave. We get level 10 here, and thereby access to another feat. Currently, we will just be putting it into ability improvement for 20 charisma. I approach the Emperor and start the final showdown with the Gith. This ledge right here is going to be our best friend. One Gith flies off the edge, and his friend is not too happy about it, as she tries to do the same to me. I jump back up and shove down another one, but this time the Gith lady gets her revenge. So I have to reposition slightly and thus manage to just barely land on the edge of this cliff. For some reason the third Gith also thinks it's a good idea to approach me, and he flies off the edge just like the others did. Lastly, it's just the airbender left, and she goes down just like the others. The Emperor regains control of Orpheus before offering me an enhanced parasite. By accepting its influence, we get a nice makeover, but more importantly, immediate access to fly and some other extremely strong illithid powers, such as Black Hole, Free Cast, and Psionic Dominance. With that, we have officially made it to Act 3. Here we get access to some items that will absolutely skyrocket our already insane damage. First stop, the Circus, for the Spell Might Gloves. Normally to get these, you would have to run around across the entirety of Act 3, collecting various pieces of Dribbles the Clown, before this lady gives you them. I cannot be bothered with all that though, so instead I just pickpocket it from her. I walk into the Charez Caress, kill a newly birthed Mind Flayer, before encountering Raphael. He offers us a contract, and every sane person knows that signing everything you get from anyone, especially from a literal devil, is always a great idea. So I do just that, and Raphael gives us the Orphic Hammer. This lady says she can't let me into Worm's Rock. I'm not sure what she means, I can clearly just fly through the bridge. Gortash invites me to the audience chamber, and I promptly ignore him and leave for the lower city. Here we start by going to what I assume to be a church, and enter its basement. Down it, we find the Amulet of the Devout, an amulet that not only makes it easier for us to succeed on all our saving abilities, but also gives us an entire extra channel divinity every single short rest. We will be using this in every fight where we don't specifically need the extra lightning blast damage. I head over to Damon and buy the Armor of Persistence. It gives a whopping 20 AC and permanent blade ward, which means half damage to all physical attacks. As cherry on top, it also gives resistance for some reason. There's one problem though, we are in dire need of as much money as possible, as you will see soon enough. The armor alone costs over 10,000, so I make sure to steal all the money back. Roland has relocated to the Sorcerer Sundries, and sells us the Birthright hat that gives us 2 extra charisma. Nothing too exciting, but still the best hat in the game for us. I destroy some rats and encounter some more Gith in the Emperor's old basement. Combat starts with me eliminating the entire left side. This does mean that one Gith does get summoned through this portal before I can eliminate the channeler. Stupidly enough, I allow this whole person to go through, and after failing to save it for 2 turns straight, I get absolutely destroyed. This time I respect it and use my free once per long rest counterspell to stop it. I move down into the sewers and find a disguised Orin pretending to be Halsin. I make sure to make a deal with her that involves murdering Gortash to then later go face her. Draining the merchants dry of all their gold, I find this really strange bug involving free cast. By activating it from the passive menu outside of combat, it lets me create infinite sorcery points, and thereby infinite access to spell slots. It does seem a bit lame though, so I won't be using it, but it's still interesting nonetheless. Heading back to Roland, I walk into this portal and encounter the sorcerer Lorroakan. He has been looking for the Night Song for a really long time and intends to imprison her for immortality the same way that Kethric did. I agree to bring her here just so we can murder him together, and the fight begins. Lorroakan is quite scary. He starts a fight with 4 elementals that each grant him invulnerability to their respective element. It also gives him access to a monstrous spell called Element Retort that he can cast once per turn after getting attacked. This means that to at all damage him, we first have to take care of the air elemental. Lorroakan fireballs Dame, and I am forced to tank an elemental retort to the face in order to wet everyone. I take out the air elemental, and after counterspelling a fireball, I move over to Lorroakan and Roland and take them both out with a lightning bolt. I finish off the robot and push the final elemental out of a window. With Lorroakan dead, we are free to explore his tower. By interacting with this button, we get transported down to these 2 domes, and by pulling this lever and passing a Arcana check, we get to take the Marco Heshkir, the best staff in the game bar none. Let's just go over it real quick, shall we? First off, it has +1 level of spell saves and spell attack rolls. The second effect, Arcane Battery, lets us cast any spell at any level without using a spell slot, once per long rest. So basically, we get a free extra level 6 slot. And then to top it all off, we get a spell called Kareshka's Favor. It lets us pick an element. We are of course going to pick lightning. It gives us the corresponding resistance and extra damage to all our spell of that type, equal to our proficiency modifier. Oh yeah, we also get lightning charges after casting spells, and get to cast a level 6 spell called Chain Lightning every single short rest. With that, I head over to the Devil's Fee. We succeed a few Arcana checks on items around the room, and this lets us, when we talk to Helsik, browse her secret items. Here we get the Cloak of the Weave, the best cape for us as it gives us +1 bonus to saves and attack rolls. Since we accepted Raphael's contract, we kinda have to go break it, and the only way to do so is to get into hell. Helsik turns out to be an expert at this, but she wants an insane 20,000 gold to do so. Turns out that we don't need her help after all. All we have to do is steal the pouch she's carrying on her, and walk upstairs. By putting the items in this specific order, we open the portal to hell. Seeing as Raphael does have the most HP out of any enemy in the game though, I probably want to save him for a bit later. So I instead decide that it's vampire slaying time. After killing this skeleton dude, opening a door, and slaughtering a bunch of defenseless animals, we arrive at Cazador's chambers. Even though Cazador is looking to ascend in a few turns, we are in no real rush to actually kill him. He's actually more tanky before ascending anyways, as he gets a bonus 70 temporary hit points. I start off by counterspelling him and focus my attention on the lesser enemies. After getting put to sleep by a skeleton, watching Cazador dash and try to escape his own ritual, and rudely get awakened by some bats, I try killing the magical bone man with chain lightning. Turns out it ricochets to the innocent vampires though, so that's a no-go. I realize that there's a pit just below him though, so I instead just shove him off. I get one shot by Cazador once before saving it the second time. I still need 2 turns of setup though, so the ascension cannot come at a better time. All the ascension really does is make him heal slightly more and be able to walk slightly further. Did this guy really prepare for thousands of years for this? I make sure to finish him off in his coffin and collect Rhapsody from his corpse. It gives us +1 to all our damage and rolls per enemy killed, up to a maximum of 3 every single long rest. It should be noted that I did this playthrough on patch 4, so killing boxes and other miscellaneous stuff for the buff is still possible. With 3 stacks of Scarlet Remittance, we can cast Scarlet Feast for a free guaranteed critical hit on our next attack roll, just like Luck of the Far Realms. To be able to use both the staff and this dagger though, we need to respec into dual wielder, but it's definitely worth losing 2 points in charisma. We also get level 11 here, and thereby finally level 6 spell slots. Our damage with these 2 items and level 6 is quite dumb now, even without any other buffs. I also make sure to pick up Hold Monster during this level. After robbing a few more merchants of their gold and pickpocket back the money we have given Withers, I move over to the House of Grief. In order to get in, we have to pay the receptionist a fee, but we can't just kill her right after paying and take our gold back. This lady tells us that she owns the house or something and asks us to follow her down. I don't really want to fight all of these people, but I do want what is behind this door. So I cast Create Water outside of her dialogue range and use a Witch Bolt to take her out. For some reason, this does not even trigger the other enemies. They are just more confused, wondering why she's dead than anything. I unlock the door and approach the Mirror of Laws. By passing a check and giving away 2 points in a stat, we can pick a stat we want to permanently increase by 1 or 2. Of course, we pick Charisma, and luckily enough, it's 2. Now it's time for the second of the shard bearers, Gortash. Normally, facing him in this giant audience hall would be a bad idea, but I don't really want to have him go up to all his traps. We can't really approach him from the front, as that would make us have to fight all of the Steel Watchers at once. There is a possibility to sneak up on him though, by taking the back way. I drink an Invis pot and use Perilous Stakes to start the fight. 2 of the Steel Watchers waste their turn before I get to tank some punishment. I should be able to kill Gortash now. He quote-unquote only has 357 HP and is weak to all damage. But for some reason Luck of the Far Realms just simply did not want to activate no matter how hard I tried. So I have to reload and make sure to get the guaranteed crit from our dagger instead. I get to tank a bit more damage, and this time, after getting some lightning charges and activating Psionic Overload, we barely have enough damage, 1 over what we need to be exact, to deal with him. I collect the second Netherstone and decide to escape. It's just not worth fighting 5 angry robots with 200 HP each. I go free Volo, and after pushing off these 2 Steel Watchers guarding this boat, we find a container containing a whole heap of parasites. This lets us get all the remaining illithid powers for that slight increase to Cold a Week's damage. Now it's time to go back and actually deal with Raphael. We enter the House of Hope and speak to Hope. I go around the outside and meet a very naked clone of Raphael. This fight turns out to be more annoying than expected, as I get shoved off the edge from Eldritch Blasts before even getting my turn. When it finally manages to come to me, I use it to hold person Harleap, but the imps are not done with me yet as they push me off once more. After that very funny and not at all annoying ordeal, I get a turn and murder Harleap. The imps follow right after. I heal on this fountain and activate this button under a portrait to reveal the hidden code needed in order to obtain our signed contract. I do just that and cut the contract in half. Raphael knows what we have done and is coming back now, but before confronting him, we need to go free Hope. I cast Invis to run past all of these enemies in the hallway and make it into Hope's prison the back way. 4 of the enemies die to I call lightning. Man, do I love this spell. And I take out the rest with Witch Bolts. This finally gives us level 12, which we put into Wizard for access to useful spells like Feather Falling and Longstrider, but also for the fact that we can spend money on scrolls in order to learn any one spell of our choice. It's not too useful, but neither is 1 extra sorcery point. Using the Orphic Hammer we got from Raphael earlier, we free Hope before equipping a certain weapon I talked about all the way back in Act 2. I use Invis on both myself and Hope to sneak past the rest of the servants guarding the portal and position myself right here. I let Hope proc the encounter, and sadly this is where her journey ends. Raphael makes the best joke this earth has ever heard. Now it's time for us to finally use all that money we saved up. I pickpocket Raphael from Invis, but instead of taking anything, I put in all of my 54,000 gold. Why? Well, the Twist of Fortune has a very special skill called Blood Money. It makes the attack do an extra 4 piercing damage per 300 gold on the target. And I just gave Raphael 54,000. That is 180 extra instances of 4 damage. We are not done yet though. Of course I start by Perilous Staking him, making him weak to all damage. I then make sure to use the bell for lightning charges and activate Psionic Overload. And now, it's time for the most damaging hit, by far, it's not even close, possible in this game. This hit does so much damage that Jurgir, who's just chilling, minding his own business, dies from full health to Cold a Week. If anyone feels like counting how much damage this did, then feel free to. I'm just not gonna do it, that seems like way too much effort. And the funny part is that this is not even the highest possible amount. You could easily get even more gold and use things like Hex for an extra 1d6 on every single one of these instances. But this is already extreme overkill. We are not done yet though, as the rest of Raphael's friends are still quite tanky. I eliminate 2 by hold monstering and lightning bolting them down. Corilla, being the genius that she is, kills herself, and we finish off the remaining 3 with a chain lightning. With that, the highest health enemy in the game has been brought down. But that does not mean that the hardest part is over yet. It is now time to deal with Orin, and to do that we need to get into the murder tribunal, located very inconspicuously in this normal house. Because we have Gortash's hand and Orin told us the code, we are let in. We deal with these very tanky Shakespearean knights outside, then head over to face Sarevok. Sarevok starts with 3 servants at his side. Whenever one dies, they give him permanent haste, 6 extra AC and lifesteal on all his attacks. But not killing them is not really an option, as they give him haste, sanctuary and warding bond anyways. I counterspell a command grovel, upcast a create water so their counterspell fails, and kill the servants with a lightning bolt. This gives Sarevok all his buffs, and he attacks me enough times to trigger his Deathbringer's legacy. I really don't want to have to tank that, so I leave the fight and use a short rest to get my destructive wraths back. For some reason, even though Sarevok is meant to be immune to hold person, it still lets me stun him for 1 turn with it, allowing me to get off perilous stakes. I tank the last couple hits, use my final buffs, and bring him down. Sarevok has the Amulet of Baal, which will let us pass the door in the sewers. But before doing that, I need to deal with Baldur, who is not very happy I killed him. He is quite annoying, as he, just like the Gith, has evasion, but sadly for him, he's not immune to hold person, so he goes down quite easily. I got a lot of comments wondering how I am managing my spell slots, and how I'm able to Luck of the Far Realms and Destructive Wrath so much. To be honest, I just long rest a lot. Money and food are in such an abundance in this game that it's really quite easy to use basically infinite long rests. We move on to the sewers and make it over to the Temple of Baldur. By showing it the Baal amulet and telling it that we killed the murder tribunal, we are let in. Right behind it is an encounter with a cultist that channels a spell which will instantly kill us in 5 turns. So to not instantly die, we have to take him out. The problem is that he has 5 unstoppable charges. This changes any damage dealt to him to 1 at the cost of 1 charge. These also make him unable to be moved by force. Therefore, there is no way for us to actually kill him, so my only option is to just go invis and fly past the fight. We approach Orin, and Halcyon seems to be doing just fine establishing his dominance. I could probably just kill her from outside of combat here, but that's kinda boring, so I commence the fight and let her transform. This fight seems impossible to one-shot as first. Orin has 12 unstoppable charges that get refreshed every single turn as long as there are cultists performing the ritual. But even if they are all taken out, the 12 charges will still remain. So how can we even do this? I start by killing all the cultists, and use Hold Person on both Orin and her other unstoppable ally. Hold Monster gives me as many turns of setup as I need, so I use them to fully buff up. Here comes the strange part. For some reason, when I decide to attack Orin, the unstoppable charges just don't do anything, and she dies instantly. When I then later go try to kill her ally in the same way, his unstoppable charges work just fine. I even reloaded back and did it again just to make sure it was not a one-time bug, and no, it just works. I have no idea why. My best guess is that the charges stop working as soon as the ritual is stopped or something. In any case, I loot her weapon and get the final nether stone. We move on to the docks, kill a whole heap of rats, and take the boat over to the Morphic pool. Here we meet some intellect devourers that all nicely group up and die for me. I approach the nether brain, fail to dominate it, and get saved by the Emperor. I give him the nether stones as it will make the final encounter easier, and move on to the final area of the game, the Upper City. I really need all my spell slots and the lethal powers for the final fight, and as it turns out, you can just go invis and fight past all of these encounters without any consequences. I interact with Stock, and the final battle is upon us. The brain spawns a random aberration of a random class per character you have in your party. We only have one, so only one is spawned. Unluckily for us though, it's a wizard that of course has counterspell. I use a level 1 create water to bait it out, and with the use of quickened magic, hold monster both the wizard and the dragon. Somehow I don't break concentration from these 6 missiles, and the other ones just target the Emperor. While trying to cast a level 1 Create Water, I get counterspelled by 3 Mind Flayers simultaneously. They must really not want to get wet. I start channeling Karsus Compulsion with the Emperor, because he most likely won't get stunned since he has such high intelligence. Just that happens as he saves 2 Mind Blasts, and the other ones just magic missile him. Unluckily, I have higher initiative than him, so I can't enter the portal the first turn. Therefore, I have to tank a Extract Brain and a Fireball to the face before I am allowed in. The Netherbane has 450 HP, since we did not succeed the 99 check earlier. It is also completely immune to Perilous Stakes. Even if it crit fails the save, it still saves it. Thankfully, water still works though. I forget to move the Emperor, and he plummets to his death. Doesn't really matter, his job is done anyways. So for the final time, I use the bell for lightning charges, lightning blast, and psionic overload, as we finish off the game with an attack that does a total of 454 damage. Thank you so much for making it through all of these. Like I said in the intro, I am going to do an honor mode playthrough. But I think it's going to be way too easy to just do it normally. So my idea was going to try to make it through it whilst completely solo and permanently heavily encumbered. And I think that might actually be a proper challenge. Still, if that doesn't sound appealing and you have some other suggestions, then please leave them below. I'm also wondering if it would be better to do a longer form of video where I tackle all 3 acts at once, or at least maybe like 1.5 acts or something, or if I should keep it separated in acts like it's been here. If you think that having it a bit longer, either the entire playthrough or splitting it into 2 videos instead of 3 sounds better, then do tell me about that too. Anyway, Merry Christmas if it's Christmas wherever you are. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.